has entered the building. You are listening to the Sportcat Show.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. You're the one, the only Sportcat. I am live on the interwebs. And here, at least for today, we'll discuss this here in just a minute. Hello, Denise. I'm glad you're here. Chris, I'm so glad you are here too. I see you in there somewhere. So, well, thank you, Chris. Well, there may be some updates about what we do in Australia. We'll talk about that here in a minute. And Denise, I'm glad you're going through withdrawals. This has been a bit of a challenging time for me here lately, and well, we'll get into it here in a minute. So, first off, anybody can hear me in the live chat. Do I have an echo? Because I hear an echo, and I have no idea where in the Sam hell it's coming from. So, if I do, let me know, and I'll notify my technical support team, and we'll figure it out. Okay, so let's do some updates real quick. Obviously, I've been off for about, 14 days. Hey, Wendell, if I missed you in there, I apologize. I've been off for, it's been at least 14 days from doing this show. There were some reasons. Some was personal. Obviously, I think if you know me, you know that my grandchildren have been here. Okay, thanks, Wendell and Chris and Denise for letting me know. Maybe it's just I'm hearing it back because it's looping. I don't know. It's the modern miracles of what the F am I doing? I have no idea. Yeah, I've been off for about 14 days. A lot of you know what's going on in my personal life. I lost a family member. That kind of shook things up, and then I had family coming in and out because of all that. And Wendell, you are 100% correct. There's a lot of damn marbles in there rattling around. And so the programming has been altered for life and family visiting. And so we've done the big chat, not as much as we should for the Big Brother show, which kind of sucks because I was really looking forward to the season of Big Brother. But at any rate, so I know you all aren't here for that show. So we're going to get back to programming it. When I last left, there was a lot of things going on in the world. There was an assassination that rocked the world with performers and content creators, myself included. And then from there, it went into absolute chaos where people were name calling and doing things that I wasn't interested in. And so, therefore, I took a little hiatus between that and family. And I've really went to evaluate why I want to do this show and where I want this show to go. As you know, I've had a long-standing relationship with Yerg's Radio. The owner and I are good friends. And my most recent station has been the Australian radio station. But we are not live on either of those today because of, well, apparently there was a misunderstanding on when I was coming back. So I'm back. But we'll discuss how often we do this because it takes at least 2 hours a day of prep time to do this show. Oh, well, I'm glad you were there. Glad you dropped in, Wendell. Thanks. Appreciate it. Hit the thumbs up button for me on your way at the door. So we're going to evaluate why I'm doing it and if I want to continue to do it. So we'll just have kind of like a little conversation because I know my most loyal fans are the ones watching right now. And if you're not in the chat, you're going to watch this back later. We'll discuss if we're going to continue to do this. If I do continue to do this, it probably will not be on all the networks that I just mentioned. Maybe it'll be on some, maybe it'll be on none. I don't know. We'll see. Denise says, please don't stop. Well, thank you, Denise. Today's show is going to be a hot mess because Windows 11 was updated while I was off on the computer, and my big computer crashed everything. it crashed there. So I lost bookmarks, I lost settings, I lost all kinds of things. So it's been a fun time getting back to just being able to broadcast. So there is that. So today's show is going to be really off from what I normally do. Well, Chris, if you won the Nobel Prize, well, I need to interview you and have you on this show. But so the computer settings have been altered. That's why I'm hearing an echo, besides for the voices in my head. So getting back to what I was saying, there's been some developments in the way things have been going, and I would like to continue my relationship with some, if not all, of those stations, because I really enjoyed my fans and audience in Australia, and I'm told I was missed. I don't know if that's 100% accurate. I'm told I was missed, but I am not going to compromise myself and my views if it means that I have to take a break from some of the others. And I don't want to do politics. I'm not interested in name calling. I'm not interested in saying one side's better than the other. It's not me, and I'm not going to do it. Sad's for the fact that there's nutty people out there that shoot into the side of, like ABC News buildings, and I think it was in California. So there's a lot of reasons, but so if we continue on, I'll have to have a conversation with the other station owners, make sure we're on the same page, but it may not be in the same format, and it may not be daily. It may be maybe every other day. I don't know. We'll talk and see. I don't know how their schedules are lining up with what I want to do, and that's cool. So, but all right, well, let's just jump into where the hell I think I used to do a news show. I have no idea. This, like I said, loyal fans, today's show is going to be a little bit different. So it's currently 13:49 on the East Coast. Chicago, good afternoon. It's 12:49. Denver, good morning. 11:49. LA, 10:49. And we always check in with our folks in Australia. Sydney, you are 3:49 a.m. and we have missed you. So let's see. All right, so let's move on. We'll go to what else is going on here. Today's moon is a waxing crescent moon. And I don't know if any of you all have been outside and looked, but if you, Denise says, if you leave, I'll have to go into a detox clinic. Oh, that warms my heart, Denise. Thank you. I don't know if any of you went outside, but it's been kind of weird. You can see the outline of the moon, and then you can see, is it Jupiter? I don't know, Saturn? I don't know, one of the other stars right beside it, and yet another one under it. One of them is almost as big as our moon, and the other one is just a very bright light. So it's been kind of cool. The tiny terrorist every night wants to go out and see the moon. Venus, that's right. Wants to go out and see the moon. And I have the Sky Map app, which I think is a Google app, on the Droid, and we have fun moving it around because you can find the different planets where they are. And unfortunately, here in Atlanta, we have a lot of light noise, so it's hard to see. I'm not sure either, Denise. I'd have to check. But I just think it's kind of cool because we've been going out on the back porch and hunting for the moon, and then we'll see the other things. And he, being a 4-year-old, he's learning. He's wanting to know what everything is, what and why, and which is good, keeps me on my toes. So it's been kind of fun. But yeah, we've been using that every night, going out in the back porch and checking it out. So all right, well, let's do today in history because, well, we like to learn from history, or we're failed to repeat it forever. 1828, Shaka Zulu is assassinated. Who the hell is Shaka Zulu? He's the founder of the chief of the Zulu kingdom in southern Africa. He's assassinated by his half-brother after becoming chief in 1816. He proved to be a strong military leader, and the Zulus were soon conquering neighboring tribes and expanding their lands. But when Shaka's mother died in 1827, he was overcome with grief and mental illness. Today, we would probably refer to that as depression. He began killing his own people, noted. So his half-brother, Dingang and Malanga, murdered him to protect the Zulu people. Would that not also be called a coup by today's standards? 1906. Wendell should be here to help me with this one. Alish Kosh is born. Concentration camp guard and Nazi war criminal. He's born in Dresden, Germany during World War II. Kosh was known as the Witch of Buchenwald due to her especially cruel treatment of prisoners. She was even accused of taking the tattooed skin of murdered inmates as a souvenir. After the war, she was sentenced to life in prison at a hard labor camp where she eventually took her own life. And this kind of ties into some of the things that have been going on. Everybody wants to start calling people the names, and they love to throw this name out there. And maybe I'm old-fashioned, maybe I'm sensitive, maybe I'm a snowflake. Hell, I don't know. But I think using that word is as bad as using another N word because of what it reflects. And when people start calling, let's say they call you one or me one, they don't know our background, they don't know our history. They know that history, and they're trying to put you in that box and make you look that way. It's one of the reasons I am taking a step back, because I do not want to be called that. I will not call people that, and I will not call our police officers that for doing their job. 1975, Sarah Jane Moore attempts to assassinate President Gerald Ford. She was an accountant from West Virginia with radical political views, attempts to assassinate U.S. President Gerald Ford in San Francisco. She'd been investigated by the Secret Service earlier that year, was even charged with an illegal handgun possession the day before the assassination attempt, but she was not deemed a threat. After police confiscated her gun on September 21st, she purchased a new one the next morning and used it to fire a shot at the president while he was standing in a crowd outside the St. Francis Hotel. After narrowly missing, she was arrested and soon sentenced to life in prison before being released in 2007. See, there's been crazy people out there for many years, so. And let's catch up here. That shield looks top-notch for 1820s. Very nice. We're going to talk about that because some parts of the country are going back to training with them. So, 1980, Polish Solidarity Movement begins. And hold on, I got to push a button here to get that off the screen. And that's my IT guy. And he's just checking in. There, I told my IT guy I think it's fixed. So, at any rate, whatever the hell it was. 1980, the Polish Solidarity Movement begins with a meeting of the 36 delegates from the regional trade unions in Gdansk. Am I pronouncing that wrong? Gdansk, Poland. Solidarity began as a workers' movement in the 70s that specifically fought against years of wage stagnation and unfair work practices. In the 80s, it started to become an anti-communist social movement that attracted a majority popularity in Poland. After years of harsh suppression by the Polish government, Solidarity finally led to removal of the Soviet influence and opened up the country to semi-free elections. 2006, Cassie Jo Stoddard is killed in the Scream murder. High school student Cassie Jo Stoddard is stabbed to death by her classmate Brian Draper and Tori Adamick in their small Idaho town. She was house sitting for her aunt and uncle when two 16-year-old boys suddenly entered the home, stabbed her to death while filming their vicious crime. They claim that the film Scream as well as the Columbine shooters, inspired them to kill Stoddard. In the end, they were sentenced to life in prison for the murder. They got off easy. And all right, so let's see what else we got here. Today in history, well, the Salem witch trials. 1692, at least 8 people, Martha Corey, Margaret Scott, Mary Easty, Alice Parker, Anne Pudayer. Well, I probably pronounced it. I don't know. Wilmot Red, Samuel Wardell, and Mary Parker are hanged for allegedly practicing witchcraft as a result of the Salem witch trials in Massachusetts. 19 are hanged overall, with 16 other deaths caused by the hysteria. Chris says, Gdansk is a nice start to get you back into foreign pronunciation again. I should take a class on that. In 1792, French's first republic is formed by the National Convention, stripping the French king of his powers. 1862, U.S. President Abraham Lincoln issues the preliminary Emancipation Proclamation, threatening to free all enslaved people in the rebel southern states if those states fail to rejoin the Union by January 1st of 1863. You know how that worked out. 1965, between India and Pakistan, well, the ceasefire goes into effect, ending the Indo-Pakistani War. Aren't they still fighting? 1980 and 1980. God, Lord, I'm old. I remember this. Iraq invades Iran in an attempt to control the Shiite-Arab waterway. 1994, Friends, a TV sitcom created by David Crane, Marta Kaufman, starring Jennifer Aniston, Courtney Cox, Lisa Kudrow, Matt LeBlanc, Matthew Perry, and David Schwimmer, premiered. I didn't really get into that show. I loved Seinfeld, and there's a new one out by the makers of The Office I'm going to try and get into. But I didn't really get into Friends. I'd watch it, but I wasn't like a loyal Friends fanatic. So 1869, Richard Wagner's opera Das Rheingold, the first piece of the Ring cycle, premieres in Munich, Germany. And maybe, Chris, since I'm free of some of the constraints of news, I can do some more sports reports. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. 1920, Chicago grand jury convenes to investigate charges that 8 White Sox players conspired to fix the 1919 World Series. Interesting. Okay. Did you know that Robert Walpole became the first British Prime Minister, actually First Lord of the Treasury, to live at 10 Downing Street? That was in 1735 on today. Famous birthdays, well, just a few of them. Anne Cleves. Don't know who Anne is. I'm sorry, Anne. Well, we're going to talk about her, so let's find out. The Queen of England from January 6, 1540 to July 9th, 1540. That's like 6 months. As the fourth wife of King Henry, after marriage was annulled, she became known as the king's beloved sister. She lived to see the coronation of Mary Tudor as Queen Mary I, outliving Henry's other 5 wives. So she became known as the king's beloved sister. Okay, that's not weird in any kind of way, is it? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Michael Faraday. He made a fundamental discovery in electromagnetism and electrochemistry, and his work ultimately laid the foundation for the modern electrical technology. Faraday was born into a poor family and had little formal education. At 14, became an apprentice bookbinder and educated himself by reading the books he bound. He subsequently attended lectures by Humphrey Davy at the Royal Institute, which led to Faraday becoming Davy's assistant. 1831, he discovered electromagnetic induction, the principle that led to the electric motors and generators. He also invented the Faraday cage, a device that blocks electromagnetic fields, discovered the laws of electrolysis, which explains how electric currents pass through solutions. Despite his achievements, he remained humble. He refused knighthood. Hey, I would become a knight if anybody offered, and declined the presidency of the Royal Society. He preferred to be simply known as Mr. Faraday. That's so interesting. That's interesting. All right, we'll continue on. Charlotte Cooper. Who is Charlotte? Well, Charlotte Cooper was a British tennis player with remarkable success during a career. She holds a special place in tennis history, not for her talent, but for being the first Olympic tennis champion. For that matter, the first female Olympic champion in any sport. She was a dominant force in women's tennis from the late 19th century to the early 20th. And let me catch up here on the comments. And Chris says, it's amazing how Major League Baseball has changed their perception of gambling ever since it became legal from take ad money from betting sites. Not hypocritical at all. And my boy, wrong button. And my boy, Pete Rose got kicked out. All right, we'll move on here. Wilhelm Keitel, Paul Money, John Brennan. He's 70. And celebrities, well, Tommy Lasorda. I got to meet Tommy. In fact, if you look on my bookshelf on top of the CB radio, there is probably the only signed baseball I have. Tommy Lasorda. I was visiting, I'm probably boring you. I've told you this story before, I'm sure. I was visiting spring training when it was at Disney for the Atlanta Braves, and security moved everybody out aside me. Don't know why I was chosen. And they put space between me and this elderly gentleman. They escorted down. He sat there and was watching the game. I started noticing people were coming up to him for autographs. I was like, that's Tommy Lasorda. It took me a few minutes. We eventually struck up a conversation over a beer and talked about baseball. It was fascinating. I had a game called right there on the spot by one of baseball's greats, Tommy Lasorda. We had such a great conversation. I said, hey, I've been watching you autograph everybody's ball, and I don't want to be obnoxious and be one of them, because security had to move several people back in a way. And he's like, no, what do you got? And so I handed him a ball I bought at the stadium. It was a Disney ball. And he autographed it and handed it back to me. He goes, I just added $250 worth of value to that. I'm like, what? And I looked at it and he says, HOF. I'm like, what? He goes, HOF. He says, I'm time stamping it so that it's known that this is signed after I entered the HOF Hall of Fame. So it's the only baseball I have signed up there on the shelf. I think I got a few others, but let's see. But, I don't know if I do or not. But that's my most prized possession because I got to actually hear a game with him. Ingmar Johansson, Nick Cave, Andrea Bocelli, and Billy Piper. Don't know them. Fun fact today, Benjamin Franklin publishes a hoax letter, an edict by the king of Persia in the Public Advertisers criticizing British colonial policies in the American colonies. Famous weddings, well, there's been a couple of them. People I don't know, but the most recent being 1940 American Adventures of Superman actor George Reeves weds Eleanor Needles, the Church of Our Savior in San Gabriel, California, but they divorced 10 years later. 2000, a famous divorce, actress Patsy Kensit, I don't know who the hell she is, due to unreasonable behavior after 3 years of marriage. And Yogi Berra, that's the most recent that we all know, 1925 to 2015, passed away today. Irving Berlin, and British first TV ad ever, the first advertisement on British TV appeared on this day, showing a tube of tingling fresh toothpaste in a block of ice. Hold on, but all was not as it seemed. So let's get to this because that's what we like, the weird stuff. Let's see. Okay, well, it's apparently a lot of insider stuff. I was hoping it was something weird, but The SR in the name toothpaste referred to sodium ricinoate, an active ingredient which the sodium salt of ricinic acid, the principal fatty acid derived from the castor. Okay, well, it's probably outlawed today by today's standards. And let's see, catch up on comments here. She deserved a medal for playing tennis in a shirt and tie. Yeah, that some of the uniforms were strange back then. Let's see. Chris says, I can add Nobel Prize winner to my autograph for you to make you even more. Well, there you go. There you go. I don't have your autograph, Chris. I need a signed 8x10. Denise says, the autographs I had were destroyed at the World Trade Center. I never brought them home. Wow. Were they in your office, Denise? I think you said you work there. Let's see. Famous people who we'll skip that. We're already babbling for too long. What is today? Well, it's December. Wow. September 22nd, 2025. It's the fall equinox. That's when we celebrate the first day of fall. It's National Family Day, National Ice Cream Cone Day, American Business Women's Day, Car Free Sunday. Today's not Sunday. Is it? Am I off a day? Chainmail Day, Dear Diary Day, Elephant Appreciation Day, Fall Prevention Awareness Day, beware of fall. Falls Prevention Awareness Day, the first day of autumn, Hobbit Day, International Day of Radiant Peace, and we're not even going to touch that one. Mali Independence Day. Yeah, we'll leave that one too. That one, yeah, we'll just skip along here. National Centenarians Day, National Girls Night Out Day, National Girls Day In Day, National Girls Night In Day. Wow, it's National Khalid Day. I don't know what the hell a Khalid is. We'll just look at it. National Khalid Day is celebrated every year on September 22nd to celebrate people named Khalid. It's an Arabic male name meaning everlasting, eternal, and immortal. It's used as both a first and last name. Interesting. All right. Interesting. Let's see. Well, let me catch up here. Yes, that is very awful, Denise. We all lost something that day, but some lost so much more. But Denise, above all, I'm glad you are here. I'm sure you did lose a lot, and that day still sticks with us. Still sticks with us to this day. I think those of us under the age of probably 60, at least, it will be the moment in time we never forget. National Legwear Day. I think every generation has one. I think we've had several in ours. I mean, everything from the first war in the sandbox to, 9/11 to another war in the sandbox. And then we had so many other things. I'm trying to think of the most recent one being the Charlie Kirk thing, but we've had good things too. We've had the invention of the internet. That's a good thing, right? And Denise, you are welcome. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're with us. So yeah, we've seen so much in our lifetimes. I'm feeling old now. National White Chocolate Day. I only like white chocolate once a year. It's one little tiny thing. I like a chocolate bunny, a white chocolate bunny at Easter. That's it. I'm weird. Let's see, September Equinox, World Car Free Day, World Rhino Day. Rhinos are mean. Have you seen some of the videos? They'll come after you. Some of the hippo. Let's see. National Day, September 27th. We'll look at that in a minute. It's Brown Butter Day. Not sure how I feel about brown butter. National States and Capitals Day. Do you know all your state capitals? I don't. National Online Recovery Day. I need that with the Windows update. National Family Day. National Girls Night Day. White Chocolate. Centenarians Day. And Ice Cream Cone Day, Hobbit Day. My wife puts out little things hoping to have fairies come around. I don't know that I like that. Denise says her father only wanted white chocolate. I think since my mom was a confectioner, I think that's why I was probably forced into a life of chocolate addiction. It's Dear Diary Day. Does anybody still keep a diary or a journal? Car Free Day. Oh man, that reminds me. I got to go get my car inspected. We have to have emissions inspections. So, American Business Women's Day. All right. Let's scroll back up here. Whoop, too far. Look at any birthdays and events. I think we covered quite a few of them. Let's just go to probably people that are listening would remember Debbie Boone, a singer from the 70s, and Gene Mingo, the first black place kicker in American football. Alan Rocky Lane, the voice of Mr. Ed and Red Ryder. Ellen Church, first female airline stewardess in the United States. Paul Hugh Emmett, chemical engineer who developed the BET theory, meaning measuring surface area. Okay. And let's see. Beth Caitland, an autistic savant who has the ability to recall the names, birthdays, and addresses of the people she has met. Joan Jett. I love rock and roll. Yeah, she's a great one. Scott Baio. He played Chachi. And he was on the sitcom Happy Days. I remember that show. In 1789, the U.S. Postmaster General Office is established. Talked about 1862. Abraham Lincoln releases the preliminary version of the Emancipation Proclamation. Xavier University opens as the first black Catholic college in the U.S. Sarah Jane Moore tries to assassinate the president. But the most important one, here we go. Charlie's Angels. It debuted on TV. How many people had the Charlie's Angels poster? I was only allowed to have one, but we all know it was Farrah Fawcett. So let's see. Look at the Farmer's Almanac. Today's moon phase, 1% of full, and it's only 1 day old. Well, welcome. The full harvest moon will occur on Monday, October 6th. That's my birthday. Huh? I don't know that I like that. Let's see. Yeah, man, I had some fried jalapenos that Mrs. Sportcat made. Yeah, that was a bomb. Let's see. We'll skip through all this because it's mostly ads. And this was one of the bookmarks I lost. Andrew McNeil's Almanac for September 22nd, 2025. It's the 256th day of 2025 and the first day of autumn. Today in 1776, the British hanged 21-year-old American school teacher, soldier Nathan Hale as a spy. We talked about the president, both Abraham Lincoln and Ford. In 1980, Iraq invades the disputed territory in the Persian Gulf, beginning a nearly 8-year war with Iran. And today's fact, the first issue of National Geographic was published on this day in 1888. Today in sports, 1969, San Francisco's Giants center fielder Willie Mays hits his 600th career home run in a 4-2 victory over the San Diego Padres. Today's quote: "If you don't love the Dodgers, there's a good chance you may not get into heaven." Tommy Lasorda. Today's number, 990,445 purse. Then was the largest in history of boxing that Gene Tooney won, defending his heavyweight championship title against Jack Dempsey, the infamous long count bout that was held on this date in 1927. And today's moon, we've already talked about. It's between a new moon and a first quarter moon. So there. Okay. All right. And these next few headlines and stories they're all over the place. They're all over the place because, well, I was running late and the computer wasn't working. And then I found out that I wasn't going to be live in Australia or on internet radio. So they're just all over the place. And where was this? Clearwater. Here we go. Clearwater, Florida. An escort battered a man with silly string, according to police. All right, so we got to dig deeper into this. She was an escort. A Florida woman has been arrested for alleged silly string attack. Is this the first? Investigators say that the colorful battery occurred Thursday evening at the OCC Roadhouse Bar in Clearwater, as detailed in an arrest affidavit. Crystal Watts, who's 48, confronted the victim and began spraying him with silly string until the can was empty. She then allegedly threw the can at the victim, Jesse Hammock. Silly string struck Hammock in the forehead, causing a laceration. The can had to. There's no way silly string did. The affidavit does not identify a motive for the attack or whether the accused assailant and Hammock, a masonry contractor, were acquaintances. Wyatt, as seen there in the picture, was arrested for battery. She spent a night in custody before being freed on a $1,000 bond. The phone number listed for the defendant in court records turns up a escort service website that includes a variety of explicit photos of Watts, who is identified as Taylor. A recent note that Taylor, pictured to the left there, is back in the saddle and ready to ride, only in Florida. She's a 48-year-old escort. Huh. Now, y'all know I'm going to have to do some deep diving into this. You can really be attacked with silly string? What? I don't know. The old poop spray prank lands high school teaching assistant behind bars. They don't make the poop or fart sprays like they used to these days. As a simple prank of spraying some in the hallway evacuates schools and has kids complaining about asthma attack. Come to think of it, they don't make kids like they used to. A teaching assistant at South Carolina high school bought some poop spray online and sprayed it in the school multiple times over a few weeks. According to the Florence County Sheriff's Office, WFSB reports 32-year-old Alexander Lewis sprayed to cause disruptions in the school and had students seeking medical attention for respiratory issues. The West Florence High School teaching assistant allegedly used the poop spray and had the school shell out $55,000 for inspection damages to the air conditioning system. That had to have been some highly potent poop spray. I really didn't think I would ever say poop on my show. But $55,000 seems a bit excessive. That had to be a government contract. But the harmless prank turned into charges and a jail trip. Lewis was charged with disturbing school and malicious injury to property. Sounds better than saying that, well, you're in jail for spraying poop. He reportedly, as of Sunday, is being held at a local jail while awaiting bond. School prank is still under investigation by authorities, and they say additional charges could be filed against him. The author of this notes, the story takes me back not to my days as a teaching assistant. I was never a teaching assistant, but back to my days as a student with juvenile delinquent tendencies. We didn't have to rely on a teaching assistant for our odd related pranks. Like the leaders took the matters into our own hands. There were no complaints of breathing issues, which, to be fair, those kids at this high school might be related to the weapons grade poop spray online. Weapons grade poop spray. Let's dial the post down a tad bit and get back to where pranks didn't lead to property damage and trips to jail. Is that too much to ask? I remember in our high school, some people used to take, what were they, M80s? And they would put them in the toilet. I don't ever remember anybody going to jail for it, though. Chris says, I have no comment. I just wanted to type poop spray. It was worth it. I never really thought I would be talking. Now I'm curious and I want to see what weapons grade poop spray is like. If any of my listeners want to send me a can, let me know. I'll give you my address. Well, once again, Gavin Newsom is being dragged over a stupid tweet targeting Kid Rock. Well, he's getting into it with Kid Rock again. Probably not the brightest thing to do, but hey, Newsom isn't that bright to start with. He's desperate to be the Democrat nominee for president in 2028. And whether people want to admit it or not, he has a realistic shot to achieve the goal against a weak field. One of the strategies he's rolled out, we've talked about this before, is his social media and press office. They've went into 100% troll mode. Well, he shared previously an AI-generated photo of Kid Rock endorsing him back in August, which was immediately crushed by the rock star. Well, Kid Rock, the only support Gavin Newsom will ever get out of me is from D's nuts. If you thought targeting Kid Rock was over, you'd be wrong. His official press office hopped on X over the weekend to jokingly claim that Kid Rock was suspended from performing in the Golden State due to his horrific music. This is a tweet straight from the governor of California. When did we get to this low in politics? Because of his horrific music, California will indefinitely suspend Kid Rock from performing in the Golden State. You're welcome, GCN. Well, you want to know how this played out? Well, one replier noted that I really don't think Kid Rock cares. And somebody replied, who is running this goofy ass social account? Do they think they're helping? Whatever you think you're doing, you're not. Please stop. And somebody else wrote communist. And somebody else wrote, you're such an ass. Yeah. And somebody replied, I'm sure Kid Rock is upset about this. And then somebody else replied, tell us again how you believe in free speech. How about that? I thought you were all suddenly for free speech. Oh, wait a minute. No, you're not. California is in $1.6 trillion in debt. Maybe focus on that instead of banning people who bring millions in revenue to your state. Good point. And somebody else replied, because of his horrible performance as governor, the American people don't want Gavin Newsom to be our president. Thank you for attention to this matter. I'm sure many people agree with that. I'll admit some of the tweets from his press account have made him chuckle. One of the recent ones is going to land them being investigated by the Secret Service, if you didn't follow that story over the weekend. So, yeah, best of luck, Gavin, as he tries to weasel in and get more power. Let's hope not. I don't know when I'm close that. Well, I was supposed to show this one earlier. This is where it's daylight and this is where it's darkness. This is back when I had a more national audience. I don't have a national audience today, but there you go. You're welcome. It is just beginning to be sunset over in Africa. Is that right? Yeah, it's just beginning to be sunset, and it's just beginning to be daylight in Russia. There you go. I need to put my other screen back up here. Where are we going with this? Let's see. Oh, this was one of the stories I had that I thought was amusing that I would share. Deputies lasso in a wrestle with alligator that was lurking on the front porch. Oh, music to this. So that'll just get me banned on the tube. So we see here that the police, well, they show up and they're like, hey, we're going to get this lizard. You know, out of all the jobs police officers do, Gator's like, F it. I'm just going in the backyard. It's probably a pool backyard. It's Florida. Out of all the jobs that police officers do, this one I really don't think I would ever want to do is lassoing a alligator. Did I show when they tried to lasso a pig in Arkansas last week or the week before? That didn't end up well. If not, remind me, I'll pull it up and show you, because I saw it and chuckled because the officer was rammed, I guess. He was headbutted by the wild boar that broke into a house. And I was wrong. There's no pool in the backyard. Well, that is one brave deputy right there. Not me. Nope. I'll run into burning buildings, but I will not jump on the back of an alligator. But I guess if you're an officer in Florida, this is just another day on the job. So, and I'm glad that the Lake County Sheriff had their drone out to photograph this. He's petting the gator. Yeah, nice gator. He put him in those gator cuffs, and they're putting him in the back of the gator cruiser. Really, out of all the jobs as a deputy, that would not be one I want. Wrestling an alligator. Well, thank you, Lake County Sheriff's Office, for your service, especially to your drone unit for showing us how that played out. So, all right. Let's see. That was that one, right? Yeah. See, nope, that wasn't that one. Oops, I just closed the wrong screen. Sorry, guys. Let's see. Earth, night and day. We just talked about that. And we could get into the science of why today is the first day of fall, but I'll let you just search out how that works out on other sites. They can probably explain it much better. So, KG, welcome. KG, we need to talk, man. We need to talk. Let's see. Chris says he has time to clean. There we go. He has no time to clean up the human waste and use needles on the streets of San Francisco because he is playing American Idol judge. Yeah. Would you want to tase a gator? No. I wouldn't. Speaking of gators, I'm getting ahead in stories here. Maybe that was the one I deleted. There was a gator found in the Potomac River outside of Washington, D.C. Yeah. This is an off-duty firefighter from Washington, D.C. Well, he was shot in a robbery and called 911. Didn't get any help. He works for DC Fire Department, called DC 911, didn't get a response, so he called his own station to come help him. Firefighter Gary Dizakan says he pushed the gun aside as it went off, was wounded in the struggle, and then he fired back at the suspect. DC firefighter was walking home in Northeast Washington. Remember, the streets are so safe. Police say a 17-year-old, what is a 17-year-old doing with a gun? Right, we don't have a crime problem. We have a stupid problem. Where is this child's parents? The child's parents, or parent probably, needs to be in jail with the child. So he tried to rob a DC firefighter off duty. And the firefighter was left wounded, and so was the assailant. Police said the incident occurred September 20th on C Street Northeast. Firefighter told NBC Washington he handed over his phone, but the suspect then pointed the gun at his chest and ordered him to unlock it. He said at that time he pushed the barrel aside and grabbed it as the weapon fired, striking him and injuring the suspect's hand. The two struggled before the suspect fled and then returned again, and that's where the firefighter picked up his weapon and fired a round. If I stood there, he was going to shoot me square in the chest and we wouldn't be having this conversation, he told NBC Washington. Said he and the teen had struggled over the gun. When it fired, the bullet struck him between the shoulder and chest and the gunman's finger. The teen then returned, seeing the weapon on the ground. The firefighter picked it up, chambered a round like a boss, fired and fired, believing the attacker was coming back to kill him. He then tried calling 911 for 3 minutes. Let's repeat that. Washington, D.C., nation's capital, where there's no problems, called 911 for 3 minutes without getting through. A neighbor came outside and the firefighter had him call his fire station. I gave them the phone number of my station. They answered and I said, "Hey, it's Zeke. I'm at 8th and C. I've been shot and I need help." And, well, of course, Engine 18 arrived minutes later, and the Engine 18 crew needs a medal for this. They arrived within minutes and took him to the hospital. Now, what probably will happen is some chief somewhere will write the firemen up for responding outside of their territory and then loading a medical patient and transporting them to a hospital without a license. You watch. Follow this story. That'll be what happens. So, DC arrested the 17-year-old suspect and charged him with the assault and attempt to rob. No. That is not the right charge. He should have been charged with attempted murder, assault, and attempt to rob. No, you're just a kid. You'll be all right. The bullet remains lodged between his shoulder and chest, and doctors say removing it is too risky. They told him if it had traveled a centimeter differently, it could have been fatal. All right, so we'll keep an eye on this story, but I guarantee you we're going to see that the firefighter gets punished, probably suspended, maybe even terminated. I give up. I give up. Yes, we do have a parenting problem, and some parents need to be parented. Why do I have I'm not a supporter of them. Why are they on my screen? So let's see. This came out over the weekend. Okay, well, if we're just going to keep reading about ice cream, I'm done with it. Suspect had opened fire inside an Amazon warehouse. This is in Columbus, Georgia, Monday morning. Police raced to the warehouse on Monday morning. Shots were fired outside the Amazon delivery station, but the suspect died by suicide, according to the Columbus Police Department. Building workers were inside the building when the shots was fired, but no one was injured in the attack. We're supporting those who were on site during this incident and are thankful there are no other injuries. They're working with authorities to find out what the problem was. All right. And a lot of stories about this are making their rounds. The U.S. suspending arms sales to Europe, including Patriots and defense systems. Now, if we follow this story, we'll probably see the U.S. is probably saving our weapons for us. The U.S. has begun suspending sales of certain weapons systems, including Patriot air defense, to European allies, citing limited supply and the need to prioritize the U.S. military. That's a first. After weeks of talks with the U.S. and French suppliers, the Pentagon abruptly withdrew its Patriot offer. Copenhagen later signed a $9.1 billion deal with the French-Italian consortium. So apparently the State Department sought to block the sale because of scarce systems reserved for domestic needs. The Pentagon has since identified other weapons with restricted availability and is preparing to halt exports, though the scope of the duration and the suspension times remain unclear. Weapons for Ukraine covered under a separate program are not affected. That's a shame. They argue that the U.S. stockpile is more critical in preparation for a potential conflict. Why are we publishing a news story that says we're in preparation for a potential conflict with China? Have you consistent with the administration's America's first defense priority? Why are we even putting that in the ether? Sources told The Atlantic that the U.S. currently possesses only about a quarter of the Patriot batteries required for operational planning. Suspensions pose both a strategic and political risk to NATO allies. Well, we should take care of our own first. And they have deleted their arsenal by supplying Ukraine. We pressure the Europeans to send equipment to Ukraine and them deny them the tools to rebuild their own. Well, we should, once again, what is it? America first? Oh, that's right. You're a Nazi if you say that. So I'm not going to cover this one too much, but I do want to make some. This comes to us from the U.S. Sun. This is talking about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. But the FBI, by throwing this into the ether, is just fueling some of these shows. Not myself. Some of these shows that are out there that are saying that there was a wild conspiracy. So the FBI chiefs are continuing to probe several theories that have swirled, prompting all kinds of problems. Social media. So what we know about this guy, he was arrested and charged with the murder. We know that he was messaging back and forth between him and his roommate, and other sites are more what's the way I want to say this? Other sites are more into his sexual needs, whatever, and see that as a factor. No, he was a murderer. That's he was a crazy person. So But they're looking at the text between him and his roommate. Then, look at this. Hand gestures made by people who stood by him. If you search that out, you can find that pretty clearly who and what they're talking about. And then they want to know how the weapon was transported to the scene and the angle of the shot. If you look at some of those other sites, you'll see that there's a possibility that there could have been 3 people on a roof. There's a possibility that he couldn't have broke that weapon down and carried it in the manner that they're insisting upon. And there's consistent video showing this person exiting the roof and doesn't appear to have anything with him, which is interesting. So they're meticulously investigating theories and questions, including the location from which the shot was taken. And a lot of websites published last night, and even our president come out with it, and said that Charlie Kirk had Superman bones, and that's why other people didn't die. Okay, I'm just going to throw this out there because as a paramedic, I can tell you the neck is soft muscle, soft tissue, can be easily damaged. The spinal cord, which is just a round ligament at that point, is surrounded by vertebrae. Those are the only bones in your neck aside for your mandible and your skull, but this was below that and above the chest. The area between the chin and chest is a very soft tissue area. Now you get down to the chest, the clavicle and sternum are 2 of the strongest bones in the body, but they are not involved in where this is talking about. So let's see. We catch up on comments. You can't get the human fire alarm screeching more about the current administration until you tell them what to care about. Exactly. So I'd like to know which Superman bone saved the people behind him, because as soon as I saw the video, I was like, what? First, there was only 1 pop, and then there was only 1 wound. I'm just going to leave it at that. But the Superman bone saved it. I don't understand that. You got me. At any rate, you can go to the Sun and check this out and see that there's all kinds of there's accomplices, there's theories about they could have had other people involved. We have the gestures theory, which if you look and see, there was a person nearby the victim that was making signs that were consistent with military training. You can just check that out if you want. Then we have the text. They looked incredibly staged, almost AI. And then they said that someone, which was a former police officer, in turn encouraged him to turn himself in. Well, that was his dad. And the weapon also apparently was unable to be traced because that was back before the Kennedy assassination required them to have traceable numbers. But regardless, his wife has forgiven the assassin. I forgive him because it was what Christ did and what Charlie would do. I'm not sure that I follow that, but good for her. So the answer to hate is not hate. Hey, how about this? We're just talking about this. The answer to hate is not hate. The answer we know is from the gospel is love, and always love. Regardless of your religious belief, the answer to hate is not hate, nor is violence. So, and as she said, this is not my words, after his assassination, we didn't see violence, we didn't see rioting, we didn't see revolution. Instead, we saw what he wanted was prayer around the country. We see a revival of the Christian faith. She had previously spoken out about whether or not he should get the death penalty. So you can go look that up if you're interested. I'm not going to dabble too far into this. I'm really trying to stay away from conspiracy theories. But if you're a hunter and you've ever hunted and you know that type of round, you can just go look at some of the other videos, because it doesn't necessarily, what's the correct word? It doesn't equate to the data we have. So Chris says it was a 1906 rifle. Maybe it was just not that powerful. The bones stuff needs to end. Well, no, actually, it was more powerful at the time. The only way that could be consistent, and I've heard this, is if that was a, what do you call it, a loaded round. In other words, you put it together yourself. You loaded your own ammo. That's a possibility. We don't know that. We probably will never know that. So it could have been an old round. There's a lot of ifs there, but the neck is incredibly, I mean, how many ball players have we seen? Just ball players injured with the neck injury and almost die because of their windpipe was collapsed, or the veins that are in there becoming blocked or ruptured. Or I'll just leave you with this. This is one thing I saw. Do remember a certain country, they used a weapons grade explosive, not poop spray, to turn innocent devices we carry with us in our pocket. Well, it's shiny. And in the old technology, beepers, to set off explosives. So if an explosive charge was attached to a person at a close proximity, it could cause not just a sonic concussion to enter in through the chest cavity, but it could cause a piece to fly up off of it and possibly strike a soft tissue area, which is highly vascular. I'll leave you with that so you can go do your own research. I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole too deep, but if you look at the science and you look at the data and then you look at we're publishing, doctors are saying it's a miracle he had Superman bones. Just do your own homework. You'll probably come to far better conclusions than what our FBI is ever going to tell us. So, all right, well, we know some people are saying that this administration is buddy-buddy with another administration. Well, sometimes it's good to talk to your enemy because we've got a 1-year extension to a nuclear arms deal. Russian President Vladimir Putin has offered his U.S. counterpart, Donald Trump, a 1-year extension that was done today on the last treaty limiting both countries' weapons while they discuss what comes next. So sometimes it's good to engage your enemy, and maybe not even your enemy, and just talk to them and see what you can do. So let's hope something positive comes out of that. So Humpty Dumpty had a great fall in New Jersey. A mini golf course, well, police are investing because Humpty Dumpty took a big fall, and they're hoping that the public can help crack the case. A playful, colorful statue of the nursery rhyme icon was forcibly removed from a structure at a miniature golf course in Cape May, New Jersey on Sunday and dumped down the street. Local police say they're looking for 2 men who are seen on the video stopping at Ocean Putt Golf at around 4 a.m. Video shows one of them entering the course by climbing over a fence, grabbing and rocking the statue back and forth and pulling it off its foundation before walking off with it. The statue, showing a smiley Humpty Dumpty with a big white head, red cheeks, and yellow bow tie, blue jacket, and gray pants, was found several properties away in a nursery rhyme. Humpty Dumpty falls off a wall, and all the king's horses and all the king's men can't put him back together again. The message was left on the number, this is from the AP, of the Ocean Putt Golf Course, but they have yet to return calls. So the Cape May Police Department are helping you help find the assailant to Humpty Dumpty. So, 21-year-old man is missing in the Great Smoky Mountain National Parks, and he has been found deceased. So, they're investigating that. He was last seen in Nashville on Thursday. They located his vehicle outside a National Park Service and was later found deceased. in the Big Creek area of the Smoky Mountain National Park. So they're investigating that to see what took place. So he has been located. And we have a large storm. Well, we need to get into all that stuff. Gabrielle is surging into a major hurricane, and it could be life-threatening impacts to the East Coast. Chris says, we had mini golf courses for a long time, and yet this shit didn't happen. Maybe we need miniature golf course reform laws. Justice for Humpty. How about that? Justice for Humpty. It's funny. One of the things I thought about doing was opening a mini disc golf course, like the putt-putt ranges, except it would be a mini disc golf course. I thought about doing that in Tennessee, and I thought, I'm just wasting my time and money. Nobody cares. So Gabrielle is becoming a first of the season major storm, and it could harm or hamper the East Coast even as it moves away. It's probably going towards Bermuda more than it will affect us, but we can see high winds and dangerous rip currents, strong high tides, and so we need to keep our eyes on Gabrielle anywhere from Miami all the way up through, Maine. There could be some potential flooding, high winds, and dangerous rip currents. Right now, Gabrielle is seen out in the Atlantic. She is forecast to continue moving to the west before she turns slightly northwest, where it looks as though she's probably going to be affecting Bermuda more than the United States. But we need to keep a close eye on her. But we do need to note that there is the possibility for dangerous high tides, rip currents, and all that. So, all right, Chris, I promised you a story about, I don't know how button I just pushed. Am I still alive? Yeah, I'm still alive. Didn't push a bad button. I promised you a story that just kind of blew me away. Addison, Vermont. We're going to. Ancient spear throwing tool brings fun and history to a Vermont competition. Addison, Vermont. Celine Thuan learned a lot at Franklin Pierce University. One of the skills she held on to the longest is how to use an ancient spear throwing tool. She got to share that skill with fellow Vermonters on Saturday. She's a veteran of the Franklin Pierce ATL team. I don't know. One of the few dozen participants in the Northeast where apparently they throw spears. So humans invented I don't know how to pronounce that. Thousands of years ago for spear throwing hunting. They were used to hunt massive animals such as woolly mammoths in the day long before recorded history. Now they are a passion of a group of hobbyists and anthropology lovers to see who can throw them the best. It's a low pressure sport. It's really fun. And she has won the 2020 competition. And all of her children are also enthusiasts. It's an experimental archaeology, which is incredibly fun. We get to use the same weapons that were used 15,000 years ago all over the world. So she's seen here taking aim in New York in the 13th annual event and part of the Vermont Archaeology Month competition. It was open to all ages, participants to shoot for accuracy and distance. Throws of more than 800 feet have been recorded, though a much shorter than that takes a great degree of skill. Stop, go away. So there you go, Chris. You can learn how to use a I don't know. Oh, hold on. She's got it here. Alatol. So there you go. You can Google that and find out how to use an alatol. So we don't need big bang sticks. We can use a alatol harp. What about the old ancient throwing knives, throwing stars? We all played with them in school, didn't we? I did. I'm staying out of politics, but you can go read this one for yourself. One of the congressional Republicans slammed Caucasian lawmakers who voted to honor a assassination victim. You can just go look that one up yourself. We found that a traveler in Tampa was found with skull and human remains. What? How did that happen? What started as a routine check at Tampa, well, it turned into a ghastly exhibition as customs agent found what appeared to be human remains in someone's luggage. The traveler initially declared 10 cigars, but U.S. Customs and Borders U.S. Customs and Border Protection agents at the airports discovered much more. According to Carlos Martel, director of field operations, they found a skull and other remains wrapped in foil inside of a duffel bag. The traveler claimed the items were for, quote, rituals, but due to serious health risk, that's the reason, due to serious health risks, they were seized and destroyed. What? Because they were serious health risks. What about maybe doing some DNA search to find out who they were? Good Lord. So smugglers will try and take all kinds of things from liquors to cigars to, well, apparently a human skull. But that's all right. Our government will just destroy it and won't investigate it further. What? What? Well, if you followed any of the headlines, the Taliban has rejected the Trump administration's request to give us back an air base in Afghanistan, and I'm sure that's going to end just lovely. Here we go. I thought I deleted this. Washington, D.C., a man fishes a 4-foot alligator out of the channel. He used a net pole to make an unusual catch in the Washington Channel. The Wharf Marina in southwest Washington issued an alert for what appeared to be a juvenile alligator spotted in the water. The alert sparked the curiosity of Phoenix Norwood, who was determined to find the non-native reptile. He located the alligator after about an hour of searching. I saw him right there suntanning, and he tried to get to it, but he splooshed back into the water. He retrieved his net and a pole from his family's houseboat, took it upon himself to ensnare the gator. If I just let it be on its own, it would probably swim away, and authorities would be like 10 to 15 minutes away to investigate. So took it into his own hands, and he netted the gator. Officials say the gator was likely a pet that was abandoned by its owner after becoming too large to care for. They are not legal to keep as pets in the district. Similar prohibitions are in place in D.C. and in Virginia and Maryland. And catching an alligator, that's a rite of passage in Florida. Yeah. If I'm going to become a Floridian, that's not going to be one of the things I do. I can guarantee you that. But not so in D.C. The only thing in D.C. you catch are stupid politicians. So, California banned masks meant to hide law enforcement officers' identities. Well, that's from our favorite Gavin Newsom, and he signed a mask banning law enforcement from wearing masks on duty except for things like riot gear, medical masks, and undercover work. Undercover work. It's the first bill of its type, and he has bragged about it. So, it's always something to brag about, putting your law enforcement officers into more harm's way. Good job for him. Let's see. A man arrested for living in a crawl space of an Oregon housing complex. What? Deputies say they found a bed, lights, chargers, TVs, and electronic equipment plugged into the home's power supply. The man was obviously living inside. Okay. Well, a 40-year-old man in an apartment complex in Clackamas, which is 16 miles south of Portland, Monday night. The deputies found, upon investigation, a witness reported seeing a man who was not known to live in the complex parking his car, walking to the back of one of the buildings. The door of the crawl space was open. Light was coming from inside before the door was closed. So police officers investigated. After the tip-off, they found the door to the crawl space was damaged and locked with an extension cord running through a vent. No one should ever be in there. There are no lights inside. Owners told deputies that a strange noise had been heard coming from inside the crawl space. After finding the owner's keys to the crawl space did not work, officials forced their way in. Inside, they found a man identified as Booker, who appeared to have had taken significant steps to improve the condition of the crawl space. and he was obviously living inside. A bed, lights, chargers, TVs, and other electronic equipment were plugged into the power supply. They believe he had been living in there for an extended period of time. They found a pipe and white residue that tested positive for methamphetamine. He was charged with burglary and possessing meth pipe and was booked into the Clackamas County Jail. His bail was set at $75,000. Can't just go living in somebody's crawl space. What's the world coming to? Let's see. We covered this one. I guess. See, I got my news stories all screwed up here. There you go. So we covered that one. What else have we got? We have babbled on today. Let's get into what we normally do. FEMA. Let's update this and see if they've let us down or if, well, we're just going to have Sunday's news from FEMA. Apparently FEMA is asleep today. So things they are monitoring. Well, over the weekend, they're monitoring heavy rain, flash flooding in Central Plains to the middle lower Mississippi Valley. And then, of course, we're talking about Gabrielle. And we'll talk about her in a minute because we'll have more information. But she, at the time, was 450 miles southeast of Bermuda. In the Atlantic, there's a disturbance in Gabrielle there. So we'll look at that. We'll get a more updated picture of the weather real quick here. And quickly going over our president's schedule today. Well, he's got a busy day. 9 a.m. called the press in. 1 o'clock, there was a press briefing. I didn't catch it today. I meant to. 4 o'clock, well, the president is making an announcement on a significant medical and scientific finding for Americans' children. Look for that to be breaking news later today. Then at 5:30, he's going to depart and head to New York City, where he will arrive later today, and he will be tomorrow for a speech at the United Nations, I believe. So we'll check up with that. And let's see here. Trump teases major autism announcement. And it's going to be, well, one of the drugs we were all given as children, and I've even given on the ambulance, could be a problem. So we'll look into that. We'll listen and see what kind of guidance we get from the Fed on that. At 4 o'clock, the announcement will be forthcoming. And then apparently the administration is still putting pressure on the Attorney General for, well, wants to know what's going on with some of the other politicians. And he's going to leave tonight to go to New York City for the 80th session of the UN General Assembly. And there's going to be all kinds of people coming to the country. So if you watch FlightAware, you can look and see it. They were already pouring in over the weekend. Britain, Canada, Australia, Portugal formally recognized a Palestinian state on Sunday, joining nearly 150 countries that have already done so. France was expected to do so at the assembly. So, and let's see, the governor, is he mayor or he's a mayoral candidate, pulled out of a town hall over a suspension of Jimmy Kimmel. Health officials are going to be looking at many things that people have turned a blind eye to. Well, they're talking about Antifa. Well, as you know, that is now a terrorist organization within our country. And then Trump is going to meet with UN, Zelensky, and Argentinian presidents. The FCC chair denies that Kimmel threats criticizing late night TV court clerks. Okay, wait a minute. FCC chair denies Kimmel's threats criticizing late night TV court clerks. Let's see. They did not fire. If you do your research, and in fact, CNN actually reported this, he was not fired. He was suspended. He was asked by the president of the company to not go forth with some of the things he was going to do, and he refused. In fact, he doubled down. And so what happens when you go against your boss? Oh, you get suspended. But that's not how the story is read. So you can even CNN reported fact on that one. I was shocked. And let's see. And we got an agreement coming up on TikTok, so we're going to find out more about that. And Bondi should investigate everybody. Agreed. And so All right, that's from NBC Washington. Let's see what else we got. AP might have something different. Let's refresh this, though. And we talked about that already, how he's going to make an announcement. It's probably going to have something to do with a children's pain medicine that we've all been given for years. So we'll look and see what the guidance from the Fed is on that. And White House says, seen a letter from the Venezuelan president. This is news. So Carolyn Levitt said the White House had gotten a letter for the Venezuelan president, but would not detail its contents. Venezuela said the government over the weekend wrote to Trump rejecting implications his government was involved in drug trafficking. I think there were a lot of lies that were repeated by Maduro in that letter, Carolyn Levitt stated. She added that we view the Maduro regime as illegitimate, and the administration has clearly shown that he's willing to use any and all means necessary to stop the illegal trafficking of deadly drugs from the Venezuelan regime. So we know that there's been several strikes on boats attempting to enter the U.S. waters. And let's see. Federal judge lifts a offshore work stoppage order off the New England coast wind farm. And White House restates Trump's opposition to recognizing a Palestinian state. And we heard about this. We've heard about this from two administrations now about weaponizing the justice system. Trump and top diplomat Rubio meets Syrian president who's in New York for a summit. Okay, that's good news. We always want to be talking to our enemy. And we talked about how he'll be at the UN. I'm sure tomorrow's news is going to be nothing about that. And Trump administration appeals case aimed at speeding deportations of alleged people tied to Venezuelan gangs. And the FCC chairman denies the chemical threats that they were trying to get him fired. His own bosses did it. You don't do what your boss says, you're going to get fired. It's pretty simple. It has nothing to do with free speech. So if your boss tells you don't go out and say that, if I was to do something as my fire chief said, you're wearing our uniform, don't go out there and do that, I will suspend you. Well, you don't go out there and do that. I mean, Oracle, that's news, will manage TikTok. Yeah, I'm skimming through these because a lot of these are going to be breaking news for later today. So we talked about this, his schedule for today. He's in the White House, and then he will make the announcement at 4, where he will then later go to New York City. All right, let's look at some more interesting things rather than that. The weather forecast for the U.S. How about that? We'll talk about that. The forecast weather map, well, there's going to be a lot of weather. From Kentucky all the way up the tip of West Virginia, most of Ohio, some severe thunderstorms possible. If you're back over anywhere in the Midwest, well, you can anticipate Kansas. Some of your storms could be severe leading into Oklahoma, and that's going to stretch all the way to the northeast, including Iowa, where there could be some heavy storms. Rain is forecast from pretty much New England all the way down through the Appalachia, the Mid-South to the Gulf. Florida, well, you're always going to get rain, so there you go. Tomorrow, the severe weather is going to be moving to the east. It's going to dip slightly further south, Missouri and Arkansas, extending into Tennessee, and look for that to continue, probably coming over on day 3, which is Wednesday. I'm not in Tennessee anymore, but it's going to start moving through middle Tennessee and all of Kentucky as it continues to the east. So we'll keep an eye on that. And let's see, one of these, this is our tornado cast. Well, it's not a 0% chance. There's a slight chance where the storms are going to be the most powerful. And there's also a pretty large chance for dangerous winds today in the heartland and extending from the Great Lakes down through the Ohio Valley into middle Tennessee. And then hail back to the west following the storms coming in. So if you're in those areas, keep your weather radios ready. And the Prediction Center, we just talked about this. This is just a little bit different view of it. And we can see that today, Kansas and Oklahoma is the most severe chances for thunderstorms. And look at that. There is some snow forecast in Colorado. I'm sure it's all the higher elevations. Wyoming, and part of Utah. Heavy rains down in the Gulf and Louisiana along the Texas Panhandle. And then over in Florida, well, we talk about Florida every day, chance of rain. That's what you get at the Sunshine State. And spotty showers extending from New England down through the heartland back over to the west, and snow in the Midwest. All right, so we'll keep it on snow already. Can I zoom in on that? Well, let me zoom in. No, I don't guess it. Well, no, it will if I do this. So look at that. Most of the higher elevations in Colorado, there's a good chance of snow. And over here in Utah, in the higher elevations as well. So there you go. If you want snow, you're going to have to go to the west before it eventually makes its way east. Please get me to a beach. All right, the National Hurricane Center. We talked about Gabrielle. We see here, this is the most recent update as of, about 8:30 this morning, 8 a.m. We see Gabrielle. She's down here, and over the next couple of days, showers and thunderstorms are going to be increasing midday towards the Lesser Antilles and Cabo Verde Islands. And we can start to see impacts back over on the mainland in the next coming 7 days. But she is expected to continue to move to the north before turning to the west before turning to the north. So keep an eye on that. Bermuda, you are in the bullseye. If you're listening to me in Bermuda, it's time to start preparing now. And the other disturbance is still out east of the Leeward Islands. It's just a tropical wave, but it does have a potential 40% chance to become something within the next 7 days. And because of its location in association with Gabrielle, whereas Gabrielle, as it's continuing to push to the west, is turning to the north, depending on how strong she gets and where she drives, disturbance number 2 could mean trouble for the East Coast. So keep your weather radios on, keep tuning in to NOAA and all of the different weather stations. I brought this up because this is the earliest or most recent view of the Atlantic. We see Gabrielle there spinning along. She's got a nice little eye. We see the disturbance behind it. If you look closely, there's 2 other waves coming off of the Horn of Africa. So we'll keep our eyes on that. But right now, Gabrielle is the only named storm in the Atlantic. So, an expected amount of precipitation. I like this map because it shows us, since I am not a trained meteorologist, it shows us where the most intense rains are expected. So we're looking at Ohio, down along the Appalachia, through Kentucky, middle Tennessee, and then it's going to dip back over towards the west, including most of Arkansas and Missouri. That's where the heaviest rain is going to be. Chris, you're in Indiana. You're not out of the chances for it, but we see that this storm is pretty much going to center on the south, hitting the Appalachia, where it's going to pretty much follow the east side, the west side of the Appalachia as it extends northward. So for today, we can see the heaviest rains are going to be in those areas. Some areas, Cookeville, Bowling Green, up to Louisville, Lexington. That's where it's got increased chances. Arkansas, Jonesboro, back over to the west to Fort Smith, down to Little Rock. And then Chris up in Indiana. You're not looking at severe rains, but you're looking at some heavy rains. And then back over towards the west, it's all expected just to be rain showers. Looking down in Florida, we're always checking out down there. And we see, well, it's going to rain in the Keys all the way up through Miami, over across Alligator Alley, where they can expect some more intense rains and possible storms. I need to get to Alligator Alley. And let's see, this is more of a view. Since we're not International Day, we won't really cover this, but this shows us pretty much where more of the rain is. Oh, not more. concentrations of rain are in the entire world. If we look, it's pretty much what we talked about here in the U.S., extending down from the Great Lakes, down from Cleveland, all the way down through Memphis, Shreveport, Dallas, those areas. But if we look internationally, and we can get a better view of this here as far as the snow, actually. This will give us a better view. We see that Colorado, well, it's, as we talked about, the higher elevations are going to be getting it. Montana down into Colorado, across the higher elevations, can see some snow extending back to the west. So there you go. But if we do look down and see elsewhere in the country, our friends in Australia, well, they're not going to get a whole lot of rain today. Maybe Sydney, Newcastle area can expect some. So, all right, we'll move on since we're not international today. This is, thank you. This is the map GEMA, Georgia Emergency Management, provides. And we see that currently there's really just a few thunderstorms out in the middle Tennessee, back over to West Memphis. Flood advisory down in Memphis. Special weather statements for the thunderstorms all throughout most of Louisville, Kentucky, all the way back to Cincinnati, Ohio, Columbus, back up to Akron. Following that band, some pretty significant storms, even up into Rochester. Get over here more towards our friends area. And Denise, well, you've got rip currents and small craft advisories. That is probably because of the storm here, Gabrielle, with her pushing the winds in water to the west-northwest. And they have her predicted as moving towards the north, turning, and she's going to become a tropical storm and continue to move back to the west. I'm sorry, is that right? She would be moving westward, so before she turns into nothing out into the middle of the Atlantic. So we'll keep an eye on her. Down here on the Pacific side, we do have a named storm, Narda. She is off the coast of Guadalajara, Mexico City. She's expected to continue moving to the west. Sorry, Gabrielle's going to move to the east. Man, got to learn my direction of travel. Gabrielle's going to be moving to the east and moving up, hopefully out of the lower 48's forecast. Bermuda, well, you could be under the gun. And then Narda, is it Narda or Narbra? Narda, yeah, Narda. We see her here off of the coast of Mexico. She's expected to move to the west, where she's not expected to harm anyone. And this map is, well, this is our watches and warnings map. Look at the lower 48 here, and we see that pretty much all of Arkansas, well, rain and thunderstorm activity, flood watches. And we look down into Memphis. We have in Memphis a flood advisory. Huntsville, Wendell down by you, special weather statement because of the storms. Lexington, and where is that? South of Lexington. Bloomington, Indiana, special weather statement. Look along the coastline, we can already see some of these dangerous rip currents and higher elevations up in Myrtle Beach area. That's a severe rip current statement. Denise, we talked about up in even the Chesapeake Bay area could see some lightning, dangerous lightning and severe thunderstorm. That is up in Wisconsin. And back to the west, we see in the Cascades an air quality alert. That's in the Spokane Mountains. It's probably due to some fires. We'll check out the fires here in just a moment. See wind advisories in the Midwest. And San Juan, well, San Juan, you've got extreme heat warnings. So try to talk Mrs. Sportcat into catching a plane over to Puerto Rico or maybe the American Virgin Islands. And let's see. So I'm not going to do a lot of time on international stuff since we are not international today. Maybe another day. Earth in 3D. we've got Gabrielle here, and she is going to continue to move all the way up to she's moving to the west, but she's going to turn to the north and then move back to the northeast, moving out to sea there. So disturbance number 2, well, that one's going to be interesting to see how she interacts with Gabrielle and as to where she will go. And then this map already actually has the other disturbance behind it, but it doesn't show it named. So, and over in Asia, they are dealing with several typhoons that have been causing some severe damage, high winds, flooding, especially in Asia. So if you have friends over there, check on them because of their weather. So they've experienced, there's 1, 2, 3 typhoons out there. So 3D map of temperatures. Well, this also tells us our weather. We see today in Atlanta, well, going to be a high of 85, low of 65. Next couple of days is going to be cloudy. Thursday, getting some rain. If you're up in New York, so let's hit Washington, D.C. first. Well, high of almost 80 today, 61, and you're not going to get any rain until Thursday. New York City, well, it's cooled off for you. It's only going to get up to 72, but it's going to be sunny. And Wednesday is your next chance of rain. If you're up in Burlington, Vermont, it's over here somewhere. Burlington, there we go. We see their high is 74. They may get some rain tomorrow. Low's going to be in the 50s. Hop over to Chicago. Where is Chicago? There we go. Chicago. Today in Chicago, high of 78. Partly cloudy skies. Tomorrow you're going to have some rain moving in, but it's going to stay pretty much in the mid 70s. Down in Montgomery, close to our friend Wendell. Well, we see down there, we're going to have some sunny skies, 91. They're not going to get any rain until Thursday, but they're going to continue the hot streak for the next couple days. Right now, it looks like Odessa is the hottest spot. Odessa is 96 degrees. Dallas, 93. Las Vegas is 88. Over on the coast, San Francisco, 72. For our friends up in Seattle, 64. Seattle, that's going to be pretty much your high. You're going to stay in the 70s all week and fairly sunny. Look and see real quick the heat map, the weather service for their heat risk. We see Florida is still as usual, and most of Texas along the Gulf Coast up into Oklahoma are all areas of code orange, but most of the mid-Atlantic, southeast, back over to the west is code yellow. Only breaks in that are going to be pretty much in you're looking at your Montana, Idaho, those areas there. So let's look at current warnings and weather watches real quick. How are we doing on time here? We're not doing too bad. Hey, I don't have to worry about a time constraint. I'm not on a radio station day, right? Severe thunderstorm warnings in Minnesota and Wisconsin. Dense fog along Lake Michigan. And special weather statements in the southwest mountains of New Mexico. And there we go. We have the test message from Montgomery County, Maryland. Wyoming, you have a freeze warning near Jackson Hole. Tonight it's going to be a freeze, or later today it's going to be a freeze watch. So expect some cool temperatures there. And special weather statement, that's going to be down along the Alligator Alley where we talked about the thunderstorms down there. Kentucky, you have one in Jefferson, Spencer, and Nelson. Kansas, you have a flood watch. And severe thunderstorm warning is still going to be affecting several parts of Minnesota and Wisconsin. Fog along Green Bay. I didn't know Green Bay was an area that got a lot of fog. Flood advisories in Kentucky and Texas. Flash flood warnings all the way down in Kansas, Missouri, Puerto Rico. We talked about that earlier. You have a flood advisory. New York, we mentioned this earlier, your rip current. She says she just heard it on, Denise says she just heard on her Alexa. Minnesota, dense fog advisory. That's also for parts of Wisconsin. I know the South had it this morning. Flood advisories in the South, frost advisories in Idaho, Montana. It's already starting to cool off a bit. And let's see. Keep going here. I don't see anything else other than Well, we already have the beach hazard statements in Maryland, North Carolina, and Virginia. So be on the lookout if you're going to the beach. This is the best time to go to the beach, but it's also one of the worst times because of the storms. And we've had a pretty relatively decent hurricane season, but we're not out of the woods yet. Looking at where the most severe storms are now, we see Utah, well, to the east of Salt Lake City. There's a pretty decent sized cell there. It's going all the way back over to Steamboat Springs, Rapid City. You have a small storm there. We see here in the south, stretching from Baton Rouge all the way up through Alabama, central Tennessee, Memphis, most of Kentucky. It's following that same track along Columbus into Cleveland. Well, you have some strong storms in that area, so seek shelter if you're in those areas. Those storms are pretty intense. Charleston, West Virginia, you have a pretty decent sized storm there. Over on the coast, doesn't look too bad, except for maybe off of the coast of Charleston and the Outer Banks. And get down into Florida, and as we talked about, that area from Key West to Alligator Alley back over to Miami, it's going to be a relatively hotbed of thunderstorms today, and there's a pretty decent cells over the Everglades, so be prepared. And if you are thinking about traveling to any of the islands, well, right now it looks as though, where's Puerto Rico, San Juan, they are having some pretty good storms right now. So, I'm sorry, over here to the east. So, British Virgin Islands, they are relatively clear at the moment. So, let's look at power outages real quickly. Let me refresh this because as of this morning, I'm sure it's changed. California, well, it's showing right now to have 18,056 people without power. That's mainly in Alpine County. And Texas is the next closest with 4,941. Utah, 3,266. Tennessee, that's probably central to mid-Tennessee. You're looking at 3,200 people. And yeah, in DeKalb and back over to the west, Wilson County. And we see down in Meigs County where it's starting to heat up right along the Appalachia Valley. Ohio, most of yours in Ohio are Jefferson County, Hocking County, Vinton County, Jackson County, and Champaign. Air quality. If we look at air quality today, and we see pretty much from the Gulf back over, pretty much from the Gulf back to the north. The only breaks getting in the Appalachia Mountain, but pretty much most of the south up into the Ohio Valley, even as far up into Maine. Some code yellow today. New York, well, you've got a pretty clear day as far as air quality, except for maybe around Edson, Elizabeth. That's over in Jersey. But from Jacksonville across Florida, back over down to Baton Rouge, back up through Memphis, most of Alabama, Atlanta, well, we can expect some today. Most of Georgia. If you're only in the higher elevations of the Appalachia, all the way up to the Great Lakes is code yellow today. And we see over on the West Coast, most of the major cities are code yellow today, up into Seattle, even up there, you're code yellow. Let's look at the fires. Well, here we have one. This is burning right at Bluff Creek, just to the west of Jacksonville. It's 337 acres. 0% contained. That's to the east of the Mississippi, the only significant fire in the lower 48. Up in Canada, there's some, but most of the fires are to the west. Of course, we see, as always, California, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Rocky Mountains. They're all experiencing trouble, as well as Arizona and Nevada. That's going to equate to some crazy. Well, hold on. This is a new map. I'm sorry. This is a new map that I found. I don't know if I brought this up to our attention before or not, but this shows us in the past 24 hours where the most fire activity has occurred. We see that Washington has had more than 300 fires. It is a red day. When it says numbers, the actually, it's not percentage of areas burned, it's the actual number of fires. So Washington, this is the hot spot for today. Texas and Mississippi, Arkansas, Louisiana, code yellow. Much of the South is, it's kind of a code gold. It's not that bad. But we can see this in the past 24 hours shows us the areas where there have been the most fire activity. Washington, you are in the highest percentile, followed by Texas and Arkansas. Then we see up in California, up into the Midwest, Montana, Utah. So, yeah, Montana, Utah, Dakotas. Those areas are code gold. Code gold. Now, it's where there's been more fire activity than per se somewhere like Virginia, which has not had very many fires reported. So look at the smoke map here. We see Canada, pretty close, same thing, right? Their smoke is causing us to seek shelter to the south and over to the east, but the fires from the Cascade Mountains are pushing across the country as well. They're stretching all the way from the Great Lakes into almost Maine, down into New York, back down across the south into the Gulf of America. So that's where all the smoke is being pushed at this moment. And let's see. Space weather prediction. Well, it's going to be pretty decent, but we're going to keep an eye on this because I've been following a new guy, a geophysicist, that's been educating me a lot. Stefan Burns, if you get a chance, check him out. He's been educating me a lot on activity as far as space activity, solar storms, solar winds, the magnetic field, and of course we have 3i Atlas, which is on its way in. So keep an eye on that one. Let's see. Let me make this full screen. We see this is the pollution and air quality alert. Look at Gabrielle's a dirty storm there. She's a dirty girl. Yeah, Chris. Yeah. No, they did provide condoms for a reason. We see Atlanta. Well, you've got some fires down in the south of Alabama causing Atlanta air quality to be horrible with that smoke pushing to the east. That's interesting if we zoom in on the weather pattern, and most of the winds are being pushed down to the south. So that's what's causing the smoke to come across from Canada with the winds pushing along the coastline down to the south. That's what's making Gabrielle a dirty storm. But remember, when we talk about that, with the dust, she's out of the dust. She's dealing with more of a smoke now, but with the dust conditions, it causes her to be colder and therefore less intense. This is only being affected by smoke, so that's not going to hamper her in the same ways. So she's just going to be a dirty storm. And let's see, Chris, we need to move to go away. We need to go to, here's our favorite map. This is the one we can, I'll say, our kumbayas with the 3D AI generated wind map. We see that most of the winds right now offshore for the U.S. are being directed and driven by Gabrielle. She's pushing them to the south and back to the west. But coming out of the Gulf, it's not that much of a windy day. Coming down from Canada, that front coming down, hitting the Cascades and the Rocky Mountains is pushing down deep into the heartland. And Chris says, I went to high school with Gabrielle that had a rep for being a dirty girl. Well, Gabrielle's a dirty storm. So she's not getting the dust. She's getting the smoke. So there you go. The smoke coming from Canada. They're close, right? This is why I don't need to be doing any type of serious news story, because I don't know what the hell I'm talking about half the time. No tsunami warnings, watches, or threats currently. Volcanic activity. Well, we'll look at that in a minute. This is more of the earthquake activity, and well, it's both interactive volcano and earthquakes. The only one in the U.S. we see was 6 hours ago, Berkeley, California, and there was one out in the Atlantic. It was a 4.8. Most of the earthquakes in volcanic activity, of course, are down in South America extending back into, well, all the way down to Argentina. Over to the west, the Great Sitkins are still active. And Kilauea, well, she's always active, but let's see. I think I got a better picture of that. And this is the most recent. Let me refresh this, make sure we're still up to date. There we go. And let's see here. So these are in the last 24 hours. We see San Francisco. Well, they've had several. Central California, 2.2. Northern California, 2.3. And 2.4. Over Nevada, they have had a 2.5. These were with all in the past 24 hours. Los Angeles down in Southern California, 2.3. Texas has had a 2.2 in Western Texas and two 2.2s. Those are the only ones in the U.S. that we see in the past 24 hours. In the past hour, most recent one has been up in Quebec at a 2.8. That's the most recent there. So Chris says, we sure as hell can't do serious news stories when I'm here. I don't even know what a serious news story is, Chris. I'm to the point where I've about given up on it. Let's see. This is just the same map that the other one shows, but we don't see anything new, so we'll move on from it. Volcanic activity. Well, Great Sitkin. Well, your code watch orange. Well, because of the fact that there's a slow eruption of lava and some ash. And then in Shishalden, your code yellow. What the hell is Shishalden? I don't know. Kilauea, code orange. Well, it's currently paused, but she had been leaking some fluid. So keep an eye on that if you're in Hawaii. So disaster alert. Well, there's lots of... Good Lord. There's lots of disasters out there. We see Gabrielle, her moving up. Hamilton right here in Bermuda is where they're going to be the most concerned with this activity. And then is that an earthquake? Yeah, it's an earthquake off of the Bermuda coast. Interesting. All right. And let's see. We've talked about flooding down in the southwest and up in the northeast. Well, wrong button. They are experiencing drought conditions. Flood watch in Kansas. We talked about all of that. We talked about that. Trying to see if we missed anything from this point of view. I don't really see anything. I'm not going to really be much on international today. This is the event list. We'll go over this real quick, because we haven't talked about this in several days. Well, in India, an elderly man was attacked by a tusker shark. In Bangladesh, 382 people have been hospitalized in the past 24 hours with dengue. In Nigeria, well, suspected cross-border viral good Lord, a fever, hemorrhagic fever. Good Lord, learn how to pronounce. That's been going on for the past 48 hours. And it's suspected to be coming from Rwanda. Australia, Queensland measles outbreaks are growing. An epidemic also in a potato mop top virus for Victoria. It's the first time, says the industries are talking about that in Australia. I do not know what a mop top. All right, so I want to know what a potato mop top. We're going to do Shiny with Glenn for a minute, because I don't know what a mop top virus is. It sounds like something that could be horrible. So potato mop top virus is a plant pathogen virus transmitted through the vector. Okay, I don't want to know all these fancy words. What the hell does it do? Let's go to Wikipedia. It always gives us the best, right? Well, maybe. First identified in 1966 in Britain, is now reported in potato cultivating regions of the world, including the U.S., Canada, China, Pakistan, Japan, Tasmania, South American countries, and parts of Europe. As the name implies, the host is the potato. However, it also affects some other common vegetables, plants, and weeds, some of them including tomato, black nightshade, lamb's quarter, and ground cherry. The potato mop top virus is the primary host, it being potatoes. And let's see. You can see, well, yeah, the potatoes look like they're bleeding. And let's see, what is it? What are the signs and symptoms? That's what I want to know. To see for a change, they give me more things, more scientific. What I want to know, the signs and symptoms is what as a paramedic, that's what I want to know. You can have all the fancy stuff for later, but what is the signs and symptoms? So, good Lord, even AI is even AI is failing me at the moment. This is to potatoes, but I want to know what it does to humans. Because we import so many vegetables, no symptoms or health risks in humans. Why the hell are we talking about it? The viruses are safe to eat. Okay, I don't know if I believe AI there. But potatoes bleeding is probably not a good thing. Okay, why humans aren't affected? Because it does not pose any damage. Well, why? The pathogen, I guess, doesn't cross the barrier. So, all right. Well, we went to all that to find out that it's only affecting the taters. So there you go. New Zealand, meningitis, Bangladesh, dengue, dead chickens in somewhere, China, pink eye is breaking out in Pakistan. Maybe they need to be not using pillows they fart on. Monkeypox in Barbados. I've been to Barbados. Nigeria. Flesh-eating disease. Ooh, that sounds ugly. Haiti. Well, no, that's old news. Let's see. Dublin, Ireland. Measles and massive travel chaos. Okay, hold on a minute. Ireland, Dublin, massive travel chaos. Terminal 2 evacuated amid security scare. Flights delayed. Passengers stunned. All right. So don't know what that was about, but it was 2 days ago. Cyber attack disrupts operations at European airports, including Heathrow and Brussels. That's a couple days old. Well, Libya, there's always fighting. Sudan, Iraq, Nigeria, all those areas are always fighting. Public safety, 3 trans people were shot dead. In what country is that? It's not America, it's Pakistan. Ghana, tour guide stabbed to death. That's horrible. China, thousands evacuated after a discovery of a large World War II bomb. Okay. U.S. man killed in deputy-involved shooting near Fort Lauderdale. I haven't seen that headline. And United States, gunfire erupts at Katy baseball game in the United States. I didn't catch that headline. That was today. Let's just pull that one up because I don't remember seeing that in the news. Where's Katy baseball game? So, and coach found shot after gunfire erupts during Texas youth baseball game. So this occurred 2 hours ago, according to ABC News. Coach was shot at a youth baseball game in Texas when people were taking target practice nearby and fired into the field. The assistant coach for the Texas Colts was shot by stray bullets. There were bullets everywhere. So they were ricocheting off the poles onto the field. So Walton County Sheriff's Office found the 27-year-old coach shot in the shoulder at the facility, responded after multiple firearms complaints. Coach was airlifted and has since been released. Well, that's good news. Video of the incident shows them all running for cover. According to the Sheriff's Department, 3 people were shooting at targets in the area. We always need to be aware of what's down range and your weapons capability. So that was a preventable problem. At least 2 people killed, 5 injured in a shootout in Indiana. In UK, a bomb was fished out of a river. And let's see, 2 people were shot and killed in Montgomery, Alabama. 1 dead, several wounded in New Hampshire at the country club. That was a wedding. And a third footballer in Ecuador has been killed due to rising gang violence. And let's see, we'll skip all that. Strikes. We see. That's no, I'm just going to look for anything new. Well, yeah, that's always going on over there. Netherlands. Firebomb may be connected to a supermarket murder. Okay. India, 1 dead, 8 injured at a firecracker store. I have a funny story, but I probably shouldn't say it right now. I'm talking about that. Let's see. Fires, the U.S., 2 die in a Portland apartment fire, and dozens displaced in 3 alarm in Boston. That was overnight yesterday, and 1 dead, several injured after a huge fire in Trenton over the weekend. 2 rescued from a large fire in Bridgeport over the weekend. And let's see, outdoors fire. And all right, so that's pretty much all of that one. And we covered the coach fire, potato virus, left me severely disappointed. This is from New England Fire page, and so the most recent thing they have updated was, this is from 90-year-old male with head injuries from a fall on a ladder. He was life flighted. It's in Brookfield, Maine. That's the most recent thing. All the others are from overnight. And it was mostly from Boston, where there was a large fire. In Patterson, New Jersey, there was an apartment building. Dallas, Texas, there was a very large fire overnight. Buffalo, New York, smoke showing from the first floor of a structure. That was in the overnight hours. Boston, New York City, on scene of a well-involved 1-story structure in Dolgeville, New York. Queens, there was several people there. Transit, person stabbed. How many times I've talked about this? Do not let people get close enough. Right now, we saw this in the transit in the South. Don't let people get that close to you. If you're going to sit on a transit like that, sit with your back against something where there's no possible way of an aggressor being behind you. Always be aware, because I've talked about this before. We're going to start to see that increasing. So, let's see. How are we doing on time here? Oh, we're over our 2-hour mark. So, let's just do a real quick look here of aircraft. If it'll update. We'll pull out all the, well, I won't do it at first. Let's pull out, I'll show you right now in the U.S. At any point in time above your head, there could be a very large city of people. See all the air traffic at the moment, but let's just pull this out a little bit, bring back the lighting a little bit, and see what we got here. This is all military aircraft, and surprisingly, it is not just U.S. military. You can zoom in and see some of these coming into the country. Yesterday, I noticed there were several different countries. And of course, yesterday was a heightened military awareness day for the West. There was a huge, pretty much you couldn't get in or out of Arizona without going around some kind of flight restriction. Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's anything interesting. That's just transport ships. Yeah, a lot of these are just transport ships. What they transport, I don't know. Well, there we go. Right there, we have a P-8 coming out of, it's probably, it didn't turn on its radar until it come out of Maryland, or it's squawking until it come out of Maryland. But you can see we have a Sub Hunter along the East Coast down off of the, it's down around the Myrtle Beach area at the moment. Charleston, Myrtle Beach area. So I had a P-8 out there looking for something. C-17, what do we have down here? Nothing significant there. I'm looking, I always like, there's a P-8 that's, and you see, even though this isn't near the water, this one comes out of Texas and it's gone all the way across to Florida. Even though it's over land, it's looking in the Gulf of America for subs. So catch up here. Chris says it sounds like an attempt to take us out as a species. No consumer viruses, you dumbass. Exactly. Exactly. Pakistan headline would be national news would happen here, yet our media won't tell people it happened there. Agreed. So yeah, so we got P8s, sub hunters all along the Atlantic. I'm sure there was probably, no, it's a King Air. Let's see if there's another one up higher here. Nope, it's a Pegasus. These are too small. That's Gulf Streams. But we have sub hunters along the Atlantic. And well, here we go, right here, Spain. They're coming in. They're military. It's a transport plane. It's an Airbus coming in. I'm sure that's coming into New York City. So we'll start seeing all kinds of restrictions there. But yeah, so we see along the Gulf and in the Atlantic, we have a P8 sub hunter. Let's see if we got anything out on the West Coast. And see, like I said, just because they're not, well, there we go. We have tankers up over the West. So as we always talk about, if there's a tanker, well, it's probably got around 30 fighter aircraft we can't see. Now, with that being said, there was a lot of tankers up yesterday, but they were moving people around from different shows. So it wasn't just because of the security threats. They were bringing the jets home from air shows. So not all the time is it bad, but sometimes you need to keep an eye out and see what's going on. There's a tanker up over Milwaukee. And here's a tanker up over, well, right now it's up almost over, it's over Toronto. So now those are probably just training. Let's zoom out a bit and see if we see anything interesting. That's US coming from overseas, from Europe. Yeah, the UK military. We're going to see a lot of that moving around back over towards us with the UN Assembly tomorrow. So if you do watch those things, well, that's an old plane. What is it doing? It's King Air. What is it doing all the way over there? Interesting. So yeah, if you do follow any of the air traffic, you'll start seeing a influx into all kinds of places coming into New York City. Chris says, they can let foreign planes fly by above me without my consent. But if you want to build a fence on my own property, you have to get a permit. Exactly. All right. So that's that. This map, this isn't really the one I wanted to show. Of course, this is our normal no-fly zone around DC. Yesterday, this was much larger, but you will start seeing this grow outside of New York City, no-fly zone, temporary flight restrictions. You'll have to have a permit to fly into this area. So a lot of planes coming in and out of New York, New Jersey are going to have to get that paperwork. And I noticed down here several different flight restrictions off the coast of Virginia for no apparent reason. So I'm sorry, that's Maryland there. My fault. Sorry, didn't mean to offend Virginia. But the one that really, well, was it that one? No, it was this one. One that really got my attention was if you go down here into the Chesapeake, what are we doing down here that we have all these flight restrictions from Virginia Beach back to the west over to Richmond? That's all new, and I don't know why. I couldn't really find a good reason why that was. So I understand around Baltimore, DC, the harbor up into Hagerstown. I don't understand why there is a national security for Frederick. Okay, that's been ordered by the police for some reason. So must be doing a search for somebody, but I couldn't find a reason for all these down along the entrance of the Chesapeake Bay and then back over to the west. Usually you not see that. And then I noticed I got to looking at temporary flight restrictions. Well, you get down into, the Outer Banks and they start popping up again. And I couldn't really find out a good reason why. I'm still looking into it. Some of these, like that's a military base. I get it. But a lot of these in Charleston, some of those areas, there's military bases, but there isn't one specific thing. Of course, we know this is space operations down here off of the coast of Titusville. And we go a little bit further beach. Well, look, boom, there's not one down here where Mar-a-Lago is. It's not active. It's there, but it's not active. It's not in red. So interesting. Everglades, we know what that one's for. St. Pete, don't know what that one's for. National Security, Hillsborough. So these started popping up. Some of them for ball games. I get on Sundays. There was a lot of air shows over the weekend, so I got some of that. But some of these started popping up in some weird areas that just didn't quite make sense. So look down here. My favorite area, this is from Pensacola back to the west or to the east. All this is Elgin Air Force Base. It's been closed to air traffic around it. Not saying it shouldn't happen. Pensacola, we know that's because of the Naval Air Station. It's the same one, probably. Same one if you go down here to Key West. Probably see the same thing down here along the Naval Air Station. Yep, you sure do. But some of those, I just can't figure out why, and they popped up. And so I'm still trying to figure it out. What the heck's going on there? And then yesterday, when I was watching this, of course, they still have it around Phoenix, but this whole area, pretty much Phoenix, I don't even know how big the circle would be, but it was a huge circle for a no-fly zone yesterday. Of course, we know what that was about. And then the other one I saw pop up that was interesting, just because of its shape, and it's gone today. I think I'll have to look and see if I photographed it. But there was an odd-shaped one in almost an inverted U above Alaska, and I couldn't find out a reason why. So usually they're a circle or they're a missile path, but that was an inverted U. I can't figure out why. So, all right, enough of that. Let's see. Marine traffic. Look down here, and we can't really get a good eyeball on what's going on down here off of the coast of Venezuela, but you do get a sense that the naval presence isn't as large as it used to be, because if you remember when we looked at the naval traffic on this before, this whole area off of the coast of Venezuela, well, there wasn't anybody around. So now it's much more opened up. So we have all kinds of vessels, but there for the longest time, there hadn't been much down in that area off of the coast of Venezuela in the Caribbean. So that tells us that military is not as strong as they were at one point in time there. So, all right. Balloons currently over our head. Here's a lot of them. And I changed the setting on this. Let me close that. I changed the setting on this so that you can see. So the balloons, if they're up, and let's say they're looking for something. Let's just say it's weather. We'll go with that. You can see this whole ring shows an area where they can be monitoring. So let's say they're doing something a little bit different. Let's head out to, let's say, over towards the West Coast where they could be possibly doing something a little bit different. Look how big the range is that they can do their forward observation, whether it's for monitoring weather or some other type of activity. And then you get along up here in the District of Columbia, Maryland, Virginia. Look how high that one balloon, it can sense almost from Bermuda up to the Great Lakes down to the Outer Banks. So remember that when you're using your cell phone, there could be a balloon up above, just acting as your cell phone repeater and tuning in. So that's something our government can do post 9/11. We see it even over in Europe. And just look at how big some of these circles are of areas where they could receive communications or weather conditions. We'll go with weather conditions so that I stay YouTube friendly. So look at what size of an area they can detect weather anomalies. Interesting. And Chris, you were talking about flying above your head. Don't know exactly where you're at. I got a good idea, but Chris, we look here. Well, you could be fairly in the clear. There's no balloons over your head unless you're over towards Omaha. So, but I mean, look at that. From Omaha, it can hear from Davenport all the way over to the Platte region in Nebraska. And it's impressive. And I mean, look here, the weather conditions it can get 633 kilometers in a radius. Yeah, that's pretty dang large. down here in Alabama. Looking at that, that's 158 kilometers in radius. So just interesting what these weather balloons can pick up. We'll just leave it at that. All right, officer down. We haven't talked about this in a while. Over the weekend, no, it was before last weekend. There was 3 officers shot and killed in York County, Pennsylvania. And then prior to that, we had a line of duty death in Houston, the Houston Police Department. Texas Highway Patrol, a trooper. And getting back to where we last left off, let's see, so far the number of deaths of police officers this year, 66 line of duty deaths. Last year, 167 total. That's total for the year. So we've had several recent canine officers that have died in the line of duty. Get over here to firefighter fatalities. I remember when we first started looking at this number was definitely nowhere near where it is. Of course, since we've last communicated, the firefighter I worked with, he was laid to rest. But there have been 65 firefighters die in the line of duty so far this year. And let's see, what are the statistics? What are we for last year? No. How high are we up from last year? We don't have that number readily accessible, but 65 firefighters and 61 police officers have died. 66 police officers have died in the line of duty this year. So there you go. We'll leave off, as I always do, with Bitdefender. Let's see. Yeah, exactly. They had no chance. Chris is talking about the line of duty deaths in Pennsylvania. Yeah, they were ambushed. They had no chance. He had a high power rifle the minute that they were coming. So Chris has said he has made some calls with influential balloon people. All right, well, keep me updated, Chris. All right, let's see. Well, that's all for today. I've babbled all along longer than I intended to. I will continue to do this for a few days. Or well, I won't say a few days. I'll continue to do this for a bit, but I'm going to low key it down a little bit more. And I'm going to try and zoom in on just funny things that happened. And then I'll stick to my military, police, fire headlines, things like that. I don't know that we'll be back international. We'll see. We'll discuss it and see. As a side note, funny note, when I was contemplating this as to whether to continue or not, I posted on X a poll and left it open for 48 hours of should I continue to do the Sportcat Daily Gazette. I had 0 people reply to the poll. So I told Mrs. Sportcat, I said, well, that tells me all I need to know right there. Nobody bothered to reply to the poll. So they obviously don't care either way. So, but yeah, I'm going to continue this for a little bit until I'm just going to whittle it down and do it a little bit different. So that we have less, it's not as, doesn't take as much time, just 2 hours a day. There's other things. I'm working on writing a book. If you follow me, you know that. Of course, I have my Wednesday night show. Oh, which by the way, my Wednesday night show this week. Oh man, we're going to be rocking. We have an author for the first hour for a crime. Is it a crime novel? I guess. It's a crime novel with a serial killer. Yeah. You're going to like that. And then the second hour, well, I've been trying to do a little bit more musically. This band has opened for Jason Aldean, Jelly Roll. Let's see who they've opened for. Kiss. They've got some Sons of Bourbon Sons. They've got a killer cover of AC/DC. So AC/DC's Thunderstruck. For a country band to do that. And then they covered Purple Rain. So they're a very talented band, up and coming and on the move. So yeah. Denise, I appreciate it. Chris, I'm just going to scale it back some because I need to be working on other projects and things. I'm not seeing a huge influx of growth as far as subscribers, which I'm not here for that, but it is kind of encouraging. In fact, I keep seeing I'll gain a few and then I'll lose a few. I'll gain a few, then I'll lose a few. And I know some of that's just due to the algorithm in YouTube. I'm not going to move to, although I do upload these to Rumble, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon. This is where I plan on really working on my platform. And I'm not going to discontinue my internet radio show, which is Tuesdays and Thursdays from noon till 2 on the Thin Line Rock Station. I encourage everybody at least to go over. If you don't follow their channel or follow their programming, at least like their Facebook page. They're a great organization. And I'm considering doing, and this is just preliminary talks, about doing a country and Western show. It'll just be on overnight on an internet radio station. I'm considering doing that. It'll be pre-recorded, so it's a lot less stress. So we'll see. But the Wednesday night show is not going to go away anytime soon. The Big Brother show, well, unfortunately, Big Brother's ending here in just, 2 weeks. So that'll be ending. And it's gotten dirty down at the end. I'm here for it, but I'm not here for, if you follow the Big Brother show, I'm not interested in somebody that's going to run the show from the beginning to the end. Hate that. They need to find a way of fixing that on Big Brother. They found a way of fixing it where they had a large group of people running the show. But now it's down to like 1 or 2 people and they just run the whole show. And if they're not people you like, it's fun. If it's people you like, but sometimes you get people in there that, well, just have to follow the show. Not saying I picked Vince and Ava as my picks at the beginning of the year. I'm going to go over the AI prediction from the beginning of the year as we get closer to the end. Because if you remember, I had AI. I went to all the AIs and I put in all the information and had AI tell us who was going to win. So checking that out. Yeah, Morgan is unsufferable. Yes, she is, and Vince is just a puppet. I am there for the way Vince played his game, because that's what Big Brother is. You lie, you cheat, manipulate, you do whatever you can to get that $750,000. I'm there for that. But when someone piggybacks onto someone like that and manipulates them, yeah, I'm not for that so much. So I don't know. It's a double standard there, I think, isn't it, Chris? So, but yeah, I don't like it when 2, 3, 4, 5 people run a show. I like it to be broken up a little bit. I don't know how else it can be done. If I know I'm talking about Big Brother and you guys and gals aren't all here for the Big Brother show, but we had a player that is incredibly smart and incredibly weasel-like. And he's made it far. I'm there for that. Then we had another player, Kino, whatever. He has put his blind trust in totally the wrong people, can't keep his mouth shut to save his life. God love him. But he's played probably the second best game of this season. Only 2, Vince. Morgan, she is just a stage 3. Does it go higher than 3? Stage 5 clinger? Because remember, she was there about Zach. She took his toothbrush, kept it in her pocket, and God knows what else. She's just a clinger. And I say she's not competitive, but she's just a clinger. Yeah. And she got manipulative too over Vince. So, all right, that's enough of my rambling about that. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll see where else I'm live. But you know I'm always going to be here. And so we'll be back tomorrow. So Chris says, we got a long shower at random peeing person who should have been gone by week 1. Agreed. Has she even won anything? I think she won a Blockbuster. I think that's it. Ava's won more. My girl Ava. I just like Ava because of her. And Denise, you'll appreciate this. Her New York attitude, no nonsense, tell it like it is. So, but yeah, I like that. She was one I picked from week 1. All right, I'm gonna get out of here, guys and gals. But yeah, I'll be back tomorrow, and we'll go from there. I don't know. This does my mental health good for one way to talk and babble for 2 hours. At least I know a couple of these people listen to me. So if Mrs. Sportcat doesn't, I know you all don't. Thank you all for all your support. I do appreciate it. And I think, do we have a Big Brother show tonight? I think we do. I don't know. I'll check and see. If it shows up, we'll be back on tonight for a Big Brother show. It is good, Chris. It is good. You, Denise, and Wendell, KG, it's good to bitch. And occasionally I get some feedback from other people. Apparently not on X, so. Everybody have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow. Or maybe tonight if we do a Big Brother show. I don't know. We'll see. Make the show as I go.